guidance so that the students observe what would be said here today. Is that questions here? Amen. All right, thank you again for joining us today. Those of you who are here in person as well on Zoom feed. My name is Lewis, and I am the Consumer and Public Relations Manager of the NTRC. So every year we do this presentation for the finalists. It's basically to give you some information on the finals as well as some tips on how you can improve your presentation. Now with us we have Ms. Turner Hathaway from the Toastmasters Club. She will be giving you a presentation shortly. But before I get into that, I just wanted to give everyone a bit of a reminder. So the finals of the NTRC's icode784 competition will be held on November 15th. That is Wednesday, November 15th at the Kingston Baptist Church from 8 a.m. Once you arrive at the Baptist Church, you are to register and collect a name tag. Everybody is supposed to collect a name tag once you're participating in the competition. All right, and ensure that you register. This is how staff at the NTRC knows if somebody is there, so that when it's time for them to present, we know if we could put on the team or if we have to go to the next one, okay? The next thing that was not present in the preliminaries is Facebook voting. So there is, if you look on the judging criteria, there is a criteria at line item for Facebook voting. So what you're going to do is encourage your friends, your parents, whoever, to vote for you and your team after the category that you have entered has been finished. All right, so we will start off first with the secondary idea category. Once all of those presentations are finished, then you have the Facebook voting. It is open for 15 minutes, and that counts and gives you points towards the finals. All right, so you would have the opportunity to gain extra scores or extra points for that Facebook voting. Okay, so just remind everyone after all the presentations are finished. Right, so it's idea category first, then we have the secondary mobile app category, and then after lunch we will have the open category. Okay. So we have 29 teams for the finals. Congratulations to all of you. For the idea category, we have 12 teams presenting in finals. For the mobile app, we have 10 teams, and for the open, we have 7 teams. Right, so this is very important now. Your PowerPoint presentations, as well as your mobile prototype of your app, are supposed to be submitted the day before, which is November the 15th, and that has to be sent by email to the NTRC by 2:30 p.m. Now, it is very important that you submit your presentations on time and full. Okay? This is to prevent any hiccups or any disruptions on the event on Wednesday. Okay, so we would have given you a bit of leeway for sending in your presentations for the preliminaries. However, we are not going to be as lenient for finals because there's much more at stake for the finals, right? So try your best to get your presentation submitted on time. If you are experiencing any issues, I would suggest you reach out to somebody at the NTRC and let them know. We will see how best we can assist you or advise you on that. But the best thing is to let somebody know, preferably myself or my assistant who's not here at the moment, Miss Walter. Okay? Or you could call the NTRC and just ask for either one of us. So very important to get your presentations in on time by November the 14th, 2:30 p.m. Okay. The way how you are going to be submitting your presentations, when you are naming your files, please name your files and include the name of the team, the name of the app, and the category that you are entering in. The prototype is not applicable for persons in the secondary idea category. So all you will be entering or submitting is your PowerPoint presentation. Right, so it's very also important to make sure you have somebody look over those presentations before you submit them, just for any typos or grammatical errors or anything like that, okay? Make sure you review those properly as well before you submit them. So in terms of the presentations for finals, you will be doing that in person. So what is going to happen? You have 7 minutes to present your entire idea or your app, and then the judges would question you for 5 minutes. Some people like to stall when the questioning round comes in. I would advise you against that, because if you do not answer the question and the judges are not clear on exactly what they asked you, that could affect your score that you are given. Okay, so try as much not to stall during answering of the questions, and be concise and clear in your responses. Okay, so we plan to start from 8 a.m. on Wednesday, November the 15th. We have a bit of presentations to go through, so we would like to get through those and start the prize giving ceremony promptly at 5 p.m. on that day. Right? So make sure you go through the judging criteria carefully for your final presentations. Ensure that you read everything and address everything for the judging criteria so that you are adequately prepared for the finals. Also, I would advise you to practice. Do not go up there and you're not sure of what it happens about, or you're not sure of what it does, or you can answer the questions that the judges ask you. Okay, so make sure you practice your presentation before the day of finals. All right. Another thing, all members need to be present. So once you would have registered with 2 members, 3 members, 4 members, all members need to be present for your presentations. If for any reason your members cannot make it for the finals, then you are to notify us of this. Because we also, like I said, the prize given happens on the same day. We prepare the checks on the same day. So that could affect the preparation of the checks if one of the participants is missing. All right, so make sure you notify us if someone cannot make it for your team. Although you send your presentations in a flash drive, in an email, we would advise if you have a flash drive, you could work with them as a backup. We don't anticipate losing anybody's presentations on that day, but unforeseen circumstances, unpredictable things happen. So in the event of any of those mishaps, if we can walk with your presentation to the dashboard. All right. I think I covered most or all of the points that I should have covered for the finals. Does anybody have any questions? Without further ado, we will move into the presentation by Ms. Shirley Hathaway. As I mentioned before, Ms. Shirley Hathaway is a Toastmasters representative. So Shirley, I will hand it over to you.
Hello, good afternoon all. Thank you, Ria. It's my pleasure to be here with everyone. I am going to attempt to share my screen, which will be the presentation. Is everyone seeing the presentation? Is it being shared?
Yeah. Yeah, it's being shared.
Okay. Let's see if I can run it. Okay. Oh, wow. Right. So welcome everyone. Congratulations to all those who have reached thus far. Today I will be presenting Mastering the Art of Persuasive Presentation, Selling Your Mobile App Successfully. I am representing the Area 16 Toastmasters in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Rob Brown stated, if you can speak, you can influence. If you can influence, you can change lives. And I do agree with this because it is important that you are able to communicate your ideas, your plans, whatever it may be, to others. To remember, we can't read minds, so it's important that you communicate. And that is what Toastmasters is about. It's a club that helps you develop your speaking skills, your communication skills in general, as well as your leadership skills. So the aim of this presentation is to assist you in developing your communication skills, your presentation skills, that when you're presenting your mobile apps, everyone would be aware and you would not have left out any important points. It's not about not being scared or not being filled with fear. You will feel the fear, but no matter what, you have to take that fear and put it into formation. You have to use that fear and present. But it's not about showing others the fear. So it's about controlling that fear, not eliminating the fear because it remains. So that's the point of public speaking and effective PowerPoint skills generally. So as we get into it, because I have approximately 15 minutes thereabout, we'll start with structure. And if you have any questions, you can stop me and you can ask. Although at the end, I will take questions, which may be better. That way we can monitor it, because I will not be seeing whose hands are raised or otherwise. So in terms of structure, whatever you're presenting, whether it's a speech, whether it's an essay, whatever you're saying, there must be structure. You need a clear opening. You need a captivating opening. You don't want to bore persons to death. You may start with a song. You may use rhetorical questions, but whatever it is, it must be a strong opening, a compelling opening. Persons actually tend to remember the first thing you said and the last thing you said. So it's important that what your opening is and whatever your conclusion is, they are both selling your points, they're ensuring that your goal is met. Persons will know about your app. So from the opening, you transition into the body. The body, this is the meat of the matter. If you're looking at a sandwich, you could think the opening is one slice of the bread. The meat would be the body, the filling, whether hamburger, cheese, whatever it is, that is the body. This is the point when you want to develop the different points. You want to tell us about your app. How was it created? The aim of the app. Who is the target audience? It must be chronological as well. You can use transition words. So further, also. Things like that. Meanwhile. Secondly, first, those kind of words, transition words, help you to flow smoothly from one point to another point. And from the body, we go into our conclusion. So this is where you would summarize all your points, everything you have stated. You ought to end with an excellent call of action. It could be prompting whether the judges, the stakeholders, what are the next steps? Can I invest? Do you want them to invest in your app? Do you need assistance? Do you want them to sign up for a trial, download the demo version, whatever it may be? Have a call of action and summarize your points. Just like your opening, your conclusion needs to be strong. They need to remember it. So that after all, I heard there are 29 persons participating. How are you going to stand out? Another thing about your presentation, because it's a PowerPoint, demonstration and user experience. It's an app. It's not an essay. It's something persons are going to use. It's practical. So it's advisable that you conduct a live demo to showcase the app's usability and user experience. Show them how it can be used. Take them through it. Create a compelling story from the beginning. You go here first, then you do this, then you do that. So invite them to interact with the app in real time, emphasizing the interface, emphasizing its functionalities. What is so important about this app? What makes this app stands out from the other app? Understanding your audience. This is quite important. You must know your target audience. Who are you making this app for? It's a competition. You're going to have judges. You will have stakeholders. You need to know. I'm not sure if you would be aware who your judges are prior. You may not. If you do know, then it will be good to know their interests, their occupation, their expectations. Because what can happen because due to this is, let's say I am a judge. By profession, I'm a lawyer. If you know that I'm a lawyer and I'm a judge, then you'll be like, okay, she's going to ask legal questions. She may ask, is there legislation that governs this? If I am from, let's say, the inland revenue, you're like, okay, this person is going to ask about tax, or they may ask about finances. How is this app going to make the revenue you want? How do you plan to pay taxes? Do you know the threshold? You need to know your target audience. You're making this app. Who are you targeting? If it's dealing with tourism, that means you're going to target your tourists. How are they going to know about the app? Tourists, you have different tourists. You have those who are here for one day. You have those who may be here for a longer period. How are they going to know about the app? So when you're presenting, you have to know your audience. You also have to know the way you present to them, because the way you would present, let's say, to a 10-year-old will not be the way you present to someone who is 20 or someone who has that particular expertise, which then means you also need to know your content. You're making the app. You made this app. Know about your app. You may have gotten help, I'm not sure, but you now are the one going to be presenting it. So you need to know about the app. You need to know the procedure, because you do not want, when the judges question you, you look like you are lost, because that would mean you possibly did not make this app. It's not your app. It's not your creation. Addressing concerns and objections. Nothing is perfect. There's always going to be someone who possibly may not like something, or there's always something that can be done to improve your app. So you have to anticipate and address potential concerns, potential questions that the judges might have. Once again, if we use the tourism example, they may ask, so how would the tourists who are here for one day know about your app? Or let's say your app refers to maybe a taxi and you're having multiple taxis at different points. The question may be, where would these taxis be parked? Have you inquired about permission to park at X zone? You have to think about the questions they would ask critically. You have to prepare the responses to the possible queries about the security, scalability, the strategies in relation to your revenue. So you have to think about it. Get someone to question you objectively. And of course, you're presenting, you're not hanging with your friends. So it's important that your grammar, your syntax, they all are in the standard English usage. You're using literary devices as well, because they add to your presentation, whether simile, metaphor. There are different ones, rhetorical questions. You can even start with a rhetorical question. Depending on what you're doing, it can captivate the audience. It can engage the audience, because now you have them thinking with you when you ask them a question. Let's say you're doing something on, I don't know, health, and you ask a question such as, do you know how many persons die from breast cancer? You could give the answer. Do you want to ensure that you are not the next person? Now you have everybody engaged. You're like, really? Tell me more. You want them to be like, tell me more. So you have to use different literary devices to capture your audience. You use standard English. It's best to use active tense and not the passive tense. You want to make the app appear as present. So Joe created the app versus that the app was created by Joe. Importantly, it's an app that you're creating. So this app should stand out. This app should be unique. What are the unique selling points? What would make app X different from app Y? Highlight what sets your app apart from competitors. You never know, two persons may have a similar app, but what makes yours stand out? What makes yours unique? Why should yours win and not the other person? Compare them. What made this app outperform another app? Is it the accessibility? Is it the way it appears to others? So it captivates the person. So it generally draws them in. So you will have more users gravitating towards your app. The design, what unique features it has that others do not. Can I make payments there on the app? So then I will not need to come into town, go through the bank. What are the unique selling points? Concise and engaging content. Once again, it's not an essay you're writing. You're presenting to persons. You need to have short, engaging content. You keep the presentation concise. You avoid information overload. It's advisable to use bullet points, not with sentences, but just short phrases that capture the audience. You use visuals. You could use videos, infographics, pictures of the app, certain things, key features of the app that will be highlighted. And importantly, ensure you practice. Practice makes permanent. It is best that you practice with others, not only family members, because they may not be as critical as you need them to be, but you have to continuously practice. You need to know what you're presenting, because when you start to stumble, although that's natural, it may appear like you're not aware, you don't know about your app. And that is not what you want the judges to feel. And importantly, we know how tech works. Sometimes it just does not work. So always have a plan B, whether you have 2 flash drives, whether you have it printed, which is possibly what I would suggest, have a hard copy of it. I was listening and I noted that they stated you should send it prior, the day before. So that's one measure, but you can also have your own measure. So you can print it. You can have an extra flash drive, just should anything goes wrong, because as Murphy's Law say, what can go wrong will go wrong. And then I had some examples in relation to creating SMART goals. When you're presenting your app, you need to think about SMART goals. So SMART stands for S, specific, M, measurable, A, achievable, R, relevant, and T, time bound. So whatever app you're creating, and I had 3 examples. I also had some examples I wanted you to do in groups, but time will not permit. So we'll go through the examples currently. So I created, let's say, a waste management tracker. So this app is to promote better waste management. It will help citizens report and track collection of waste. It promotes a cleaner environment in both urban and rural areas. So S, the specific goal: improve waste management and reporting efficiency. Measurable: How are we going to measure this? You're going to receive and resolve 500 waste management reports month. It's measurable. You're counting. You're expecting 500 reports. Achievable. Decrease unresolved waste-related complaints by 20% in the first year. So it needs to be achievable because possibly it's a new app you're developing. So you don't want to say maybe 75% in the first year because that may not be achievable. So in this, there's 20% waste-related complaints being decreased. Relevant. Is it relevant to society today? Or is it an archaic, old concept that has no relevance today? Relevant, yes, it is, especially if we're thinking about sustainability, if we're thinking about climate change. It increased proper waste disposal by 15% in targeted areas. It can also be relevant to the health sector. And timed bound. Achieve 95% user satisfaction within the first 6 months. So using SMART goals, this is how the waste management tracker can be put forward. Another example, let's go with an emergency response app. So the aim of this is to offer quick emergency response services. It could enable citizens to report incidents, seek help, and provide real-time location information to emergency services. So the specific goal would be provide quick emergency response services. How are we measuring this? So the response to the emergency reports would be within 10 minutes on average. That's how you're measuring it. Achievable. Reduce emergency response by 25% within the first year. Relevant. Is this relevant to today's society? Is it relevant to St. Vincent and the Grenadines context? It increased emergency cases successfully resolved by 15% in the first year. Time bound. Achieve 85% user satisfaction when? Within the first 6 months. We could also have another one, tourism experience app. So it's an interactive mobile app that guides, that enhances the tourism experience. It could include GPS-based guides to local attractions, historical information. The aim of it is to foster thriving tourism sector. So the specific goal, enhance the experience and engagement of the tourism sector within St. Vincent and the Grenadines. How are we measuring this? So we're going to provide comprehensive guides for 50+ tourist attractions across the islands. Achievable. We're going to achieve 10,000 downloads within the first 3 months. Is it relevant? Yes. Right now we're in the cruise season. Boost local tourism revenues by 20% within the first year. Time bound. Increase positive user feedback by 30% in the first 6 months. Another way you can know if it's relevant, you could possibly look at the development plan, look at what is needed in SVG across the public sector and private sector, and tie it to those goals, possibly tie it to the sustainable development goals as well. So those are things that you can integrate. It would show that you're thinking beyond just the app for the competition, but St. Vincent and the Grenadines as a whole, or even St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the context of globalization. So these are things you have to consider when you are presenting your app. Well, I had group work, which we're not doing, and that's the extent of my presentation. I would ask right now if anyone have any questions.
If anybody on the Zoom platform has questions, you can put it in.
Are there any questions from the audience?
And if there is anyone in the audience who has questions, can you raise your hands, please?
Was I clear as crystal or clear as mud?
Sherman, you're hearing me?
Well, if there are no questions, I will turn over the virtual lectern to Ria. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Chanel. Okay, very good presentation from one of our judges, Mr. Hillman. So nobody has questions for Ms. Hanley. All right, moving on. We have Mr. Kamral Fadalan. Kamral was one of the judges for the preliminaries. So I will just let him open his microphone and camera and give you guys some overall feedback. Kamral.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I have just about 3 points I want to share. I think Ms. Hathaway did a wonderful job. Presentation, especially with the somewhat of those case studies that you presented as well, to give the participants an idea of how they should look at the problem and the various goals that they need to set. So I hope they really pay close attention to that as well. What I would want to mention in relation to the, sorry. All right, so what I would want to mention in relation to the user experience, during the open category section, we're looking forward to see those apps being developed, and the various considerations for the user experience being incorporated into those into the interfaces that would be developed. And we noticed during a lot of the presentations, it would appear as though some persons are answering the judging criteria question, so to speak. So, so for instance, persons might say something like, "I know app utilizes artificial intelligence," right? So it's we need to see exactly how the app actually implements artificial intelligence. Maybe not in great detail, but there should be some actual technical demonstration as to actually, so that we can have an appreciation of that aspect of the application. Also, and a major one that is seen a lot is the payment processing. And so a lot of persons would mention that they can accept money, they could accept payments through the app, but nobody actually says how that will be done. And so, so pay close attention to that. We have things like Dcash now in the region that they have a merchant payment processor. I'm not sure what stage it is at now, but there are means in which you can incorporate things like Dcash to actually accept payments. So for those who have been mentioning that, outside of that is very challenging. You have to go through the financial institutions and get a merchant account set up. And so, so that would be important to consider as well. And so in a sense, try as much as possible to avoid just saying, it can do this, without actually being sure that how you're actually going to achieve it, right? Because we're going to be looking at that as well. And also for your app itself, it's not worth saying that your app could do something and then in the end it can't achieve it, because then your solution would not be complete. Also, the sustainability of the app. Sometimes we find we might get some very big costs for development. You might see costs like 25,000 US dollars, maintenance fees of 6,000 US dollars, and then someone might say, well, it's a not-for-profit app, and then there's not a clear demonstration of how the app would be able to actually generate the funds needed to fund itself, so to speak. So, so we have to be careful when we look at the financial costs. I mean, apps are costly to develop, but let's say, for instance, you have a very big projection for your development of maybe $25,000. What I would expect is, for instance, you should be able to demonstrate how within 6 or 4 or 5 months, Shona mentioned a few of those things, Ms. Hadley mentioned a few of those things, how within that period of time, you might be able to fund maybe start a loan from a financial institution that will be able to cover that those development costs. Or maybe you might be able to access a grant from some funding agency who would be able to pump that money into the development of your application, after which maybe user fees, subscription fees, and so forth would be able to allow the app to continue to be maintained, right? And by maintenance, maintenance is something inevitable. I've noticed sometimes persons may put maintenance as a con, but maintenance is necessary for applications because the very code that is used to write the software, their version changes in that code. New vulnerabilities are discovered on a daily basis in those frameworks that are used and so forth. And so it is inevitable that the developers have to continue coding, they have to continue making changes. You would see things that you want to improve on. So maintenance is inevitable. All right. So that has to be considered as well to ensure that you actually have a sustainable project, because it could look fancy, the numbers look big, the numbers could be justified, but you must also be able to show that you can fund the project, or the project can fund itself once it gets going. And so in the technology area as well, I already mentioned that, ensure that, as you mentioned, these different things that that we're looking for in terms of the technologies that are being used in the application, that they can actually be implemented, and make consideration for the different tools that will be needed to implement them. I think these are the main areas from my assessment and evaluation through the judging that I would like to point out, and the participants would pay close attention. Oh, sorry, one thing I almost missed is so Ms. Hadaway pointed out identifying the problem, identifying the what you're trying to solve. And so sometimes we have cases where someone may identify a problem, but then the solution itself appears to be addressing multiple problems. And so what happens there is that it takes away from your ability to focus on the solution that actually addresses the problem that you've identified. And it makes it difficult for us to follow and appreciate what your application is trying to achieve, or idea is trying to achieve. And so the last thing I would want persons to be very mindful of is to be very focused as you develop your solution, right? Try to avoid having too many additional things that would actually take away from the core solution that you're trying to develop. So these are all the things I just want to mention. Thank you. And all the best.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kunalan. Mr. Kunalan was one of the open category judges. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Kunalan? No? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kunalan. We also have with us, Mrs. Donette O'Neill. Mrs. Donette O'Neill was one of the judges for the secondary mobile app category. So I would now welcome Ms. O'Neill to give her feedback and remarks.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not at a computer with a camera at the moment. I'm at my desktop, so I'm hoping my image will be good enough. Okay, so I'm gonna be brief because the other judges in the other categories would have touched a lot of the issues that we would have had occur in ours. For example, in the real-time, some persons would have mentioned items like real-time travel and tracking And they didn't expand on the details or where it would be done or how it would be done. So I see that they're just listing a lot of these items, but not knowing exactly what they are. So I would encourage them, if they have these items that they need to be more detailed, to see how it will be implemented in their app. Also, I would have also noted that many persons would have listed pros and cons, but many of them would not state what are the solutions for the cons or try to find a workaround for them. So I would encourage them, if they have some cons in their delivery, that they try to see if they could put in some measures on how to work out these cons.
All right. Thank you.
We'll also move along with some items with some of these students would have listed that a lot of these implementations would need equipment. Now, for these equipment, they did not explain, for example, a strategy, a purchasing strategy, and how to minimize the cost to the user so that this would be a very usable system. So they need to explain more on the purchasing strategy and the maintenance plan, how they hope to maintain it, especially when they have to engage stakeholders. They need to expand more on this. Students would have also mentioned cloud services for free. The only cloud service for free I know there is Google Drive, and some of the other services that Google offer may be for free, but it has limited space. So the students need to research better to verify exactly what technology they will be using, because most of these things may say for free, but it's limited, and you can't put a mobile app on Google Drive. Okay, students need to speak with more confidence. And I think the confidence would be based on them knowing exactly what they wrote. So please know exactly what you write and know the technology associated with it. And I also noticed there was a lack of interfaces. We did not see a lot of demonstrations of the various interfaces for the apps. Some students or some schools would have shown that and others would have not. So a bit more interfaces or different parts of the interface demonstrated would also be helpful for the next round. So that's it for me. Most of the other things that I'm saying would have been repeated by the other judges. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Donette. Does anybody have any questions for Mrs. O'Neill? So moving on, just to add to what those two judges indicated, researching your app is very important. You have to know how it works, all the features of it. You should be able to answer the questions it asks. So I encourage you to do some research. If it's in relation to a business within standard remedies, you could probably take some time to go and interview somebody who works at that business, just so that you know that the problem you're addressing is a real problem, and you could provide a viable solution in your app. The other thing that I wanted to note is that your app, even if it is non-profit, you would still need to indicate how that is being sustained, right? So not because it's a non-profit app, you still need to indicate how you're gonna sustain your app. All right. Are there any questions in relation to anything regarding the finals? Yes, one question.
So our question is related with the submission of the application. You mentioned that our presentation should be submitted to the email, but the application itself, it should be submitted to the email to, like, for example, in Android, you have the .apk should be
Right, so, one of the participants is asking about the APK. Yes, that also be submitted via email to us on the day before the event. The deadline for submission of the APKs and the, presentations is November 14th by 2:30 p.m. Yes.
The question. I was wondering how much time would be given for the presentation and if there are any notes regarding the presentation.
Right, so I have mentioned this a little earlier, but some persons would have come in after this was mentioned. So you have 7 minutes to do your entire presentation. That is 7 minutes. We have a timer, so once that timer has buzzed, you would have to stop with your presentation. All of that is also in the outline and the rules that is on our website, www.ntrc.bc. So because you don't know that, I know that you didn't go through those documents. I would suggest that you go through those documents before you submit your final presentation, just to ensure that you're not doing a presentation that is outside of the presentation time and so on. Okay, so you have 7 minutes to present, and then there's a 5-minute round of questioning from the judges after your presentation. Okay. Any other questions? All right, then, thank you all for listening. I just wanted to go over the prizes again finally. So for the innovative, the secondary idea category, first place is 2,500, second place is 1,500, and third place is 1,000. For this secondary mobile app category, first place is $5,000, and each team member and mentor would receive a laptop. For the second place, the price is 3,000, and third place, the price is 2,000. For the open category now, first place is $5,000, and 2 members from the winning team will be sent to Barcelona, Spain in March 2024 to attend an event for startups hosted by GSMA called 4 years from now. Second place is 3,000, and third place is 2,000. We also have a number of other unspecified prizes for these positions that will be provided by our sponsors. Other prizes as well, the school with the most entries will receive a cash prize of 1,000. The mentor for the winning team of the secondary idea category will receive $750. The mentor for the winning team of the secondary mobile app category will receive 1,000. There are no mentors required for open categories, so there are no prizes for that. All non-positional teams are advanced to the finals, which is everyone here. Once you know place first, second, or third, your team will get $300. So everyone who has made it to the finals is guaranteed to walk away with something. I would like to say congratulations to all of you again, and I wish you all the best in your preparations for finals. This is going to be uploaded to our YouTube page, so you can share with those persons and your team members who were not present today. Also, if you need to look over anything that you might have missed, it will be available for you on our YouTube page. All right, without further ado, I will now invite Ms. Shadeja Gordon again to do the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the NTRC, I would like to express our gratitude to our partners, Flow, Digital, 4Imprint, Sports Locker, King's Computer, Vinlet, Marcom, Building Unknown, NIS, Extreme FM, Boom FM, and WFM. For their invaluable support, without you, this competition will not be possible. A heartfelt thank you to our featured speaker, Ms. Chanel Hathaway from the Area 16 Toastmaster Club for taking the time to deliver this presentation. We would also like to extend appreciation to the judges, Mr. Kamal Kodalan and Ms. Donette O'Neill, for their valuable feedback. Lastly, we cannot forget to thank the participants and their mentors. We eagerly anticipate to witness the execution of your brilliant ideas at the competition's grand finale on November the 15th, 2022. Wishing you all a delightful afternoon and a safe journey. Thank you.
I also forgot to mention, I would like to encourage you to invite your parents, your family members, your friends, your classmates to come and support you at the finals, because we will be having some giveaways for persons who are not participating. Right, so we will be giving away things like phones, promotional items, etc. So encourage your friends, your family and so on to come and support you at the finals. We will also be live streaming the finals of the competition. So somebody on the live stream is going to be winning a phone as well. Okay, so if you can't come in person, encourage them to join the live stream and look at your presentation of the finals. All right, thank you everybody for coming back.